Hello everybody, my name is Alperen. In this video, I will describe how could we create a bridge between Siemens PLCs and other cloud services, so we can visualize industrial data over Power BI. In this project, I built an end-to-end data integration pipeline between an industrial PLC, which will use PLC Sim Advanced, and an SQL database in Azure Cloud Services using OPC UA and Python code. System collects industrial live data from the PLC and processes it through a Python script, sends data to Azure Cloud Services, and stores in an SQL database. So let's start with preparing the environment itself. Okay, we will start with the first part, our first environment, which is TIA portal itself. You need a stable working program to create this first step. I'm using my old project as an example, and I will upload this project into a PLC Sim V18. Let me just delete this and start from the scratch. Close it out. Close. Okay. So right now, you go to device configuration, select your device. In properties, you will scroll down to OPC UA segment. In this part, you will see a number of configuration options. This is your application name. You scroll down, you press activate OPC UA server, and you will get a link. This link is specifically important for us. And before we going even further, we just stop and check our internet settings, because we had to be in the same IP range with this OPC server. Right now, since I will use OPC UA Advanced, PLC Sim Advanced, I will use PLC Sim Virtual Ethernet. And I get into properties, IPv4. As you can see, this first 3 digits of my IP address is the same with OPC's IP address. This is an important part. If you don't do it, you would have a number of problems. Do not forget this step. So we just move on. So enable synaptic server interface. Also, you select no security. And by the way, this operation has no security at all. I made this project just to improve myself, personal development. Do not try to put this project into an actual working industrial environment, because there's no security at all. And enable guest authentication. That's all. That's all you had to do. Now, we are moving to PLC Sim V18. We need an actual PLC to simulate this system. Once you open this program, you will see yourself at this communication bus mode. PLC Sim soft bus internal only. But you need TCP IP single adapter via PLC Sim virtual adapter. So you need an S7-1500 series PLC. You get into properties. Once you get into this, you will see a license type. Standard license is usually used for normal operations, which is entirely simulated environments. Advanced is more like input-output sensitive PLCs. So you choose license type as advanced. And if you are not able to choose advanced license, you should probably did not power off. Should probably did not upload it PLC Sim Advanced. You also need this PLC Sim Advanced, and also you need to put its online access into TCP IP. Let's just close this again. Put it into TCP IP. TCP IP communication with local, and I choose local also in here. choose TCP/IP single adapter, reactivate. Okay, it opened, but as you remember, we also put subnet mask on Siemens Virtual Ethernet. You don't have to do this, but it ensures a stable, smooth connection. That's all. You opened your PLC, which is in advanced licensed, and you activated your OPC server. All you had to do is configuration and download. Dum, dum, dum. Yep, PLC Virtual Ethernet adapter, directed slot 1x1, show all compatible. Found accessible device. Okay, so it directly found it. No problem. No error at all. It is great. Press load. Yes, trust. Load. And start module. Module started and system works properly. You just got into sim table part. Let me just delete it already and create a new sim table and load inputs. It loaded all of them. Yep, looking false. Nice. So next step is to check if OPC server is actually working or not. To do this, we need an additional program called UA Expert. You can download UA Expert by this link. I'll put this link into the description. Just press this, download it, and open the program. Let me just remove it. Once you open this page, you press this plus and go into custom discovery. If you remember your OPC IP address, you could find it in here. Server. That's what we need. 0, 1, and port number. We press OK. Press double press. It already opened itself, so we successfully connected into our PLC. It says none. As you remember, we did not put any kind of protection in our PLC. We press OK. Since I connected it before, it says OK to overwrite it. I press OK. And then we recorded our server into UA Expert, and all we had to do is press connect server. It connected successfully. We could see our PLC data in PLC1, inputs. Let's just use start button for now. Just hold the start button and put it right here. So right now its display name is start button and the value is false. Let's see if it's working or not. We will change the value from just do not show. it says false. Let's just make this true and see if the OPC server is working or not. Value changed successfully, so our OPC server is working without any kind of problem. Alright, we are moving into our second environment, which is Azure Cloud Platform. Before you move into this platform, please check product availability by region, because certain servers do not have every single capabilities. In this example, we are looking for Azure SQL database, but as you can see, there is no Azure SQL database in Malaysia server. Check out this server and choose the one closest to you. Once you created your account, you will encounter a page like this. This is Azure main page. And before you move into anything, you need to create a subscription. You get into this page, you press add, set a name on subscription, and choose or create a new billing account. By the way, these billing accounts do not accept debit card. Try to use credit card instead. You create billing profile, you create invoice, press next, and then put certain amount of USD in here. I usually start with $10. It's more than enough. You don't need anything more than $10 for this operation. So after you did everything, you will review and press create. Since I already created my subscription, I don't want to recreate again. Okay, we go into home, and everything in Azure starts with this resource group. You will create your resource group. Press create. You choose the subscription you created. You put name to this group. Let's just PLC group. Okay, that's good. And choose correct region for you. I usually choose Germany West Central because it's both close to me and a capable Azure server. Press next. Do you want to put tags in it or not? Press next. That's all. You will press create and you will create your own resource group. Once you created your resource group and created your subscription, we can move into creating an SQL database. If you cannot see SQL database in here, press this and go into databases and select SQL database. You'll start with choosing your subscription and then choosing the resource group you just created and put a name PLC SQL Power BI. For example, the name is not that important. Just be sure that this green mark showing itself in here. Again, you will create a new server, put a server name, and choose correct Germany. Where is Germany? West Central, yeah. And you will see an authentication method under this setting. You will use both SQL and Microsoft Entra authentication. Microsoft Entra is a new type of authentication. Usually acts like your fingerprint, basically. You would choose yourself as admin, and all you have to do is put your email and own personal email and password, and you will automatically get into your Azure account. It's a new good feature, but it might create certain problems on Python code, so that's why we use both SQL and Entra authentication. You will put a name on this SQL authentication, PLC to cloud, That's nice. And a random password you won't forget. Okay. Press OK. It created. Locally redundant. And then you should configure database. General purpose, most budget friendly, serviceless, you don't need an actual server. So for the gigabyte, you will put it down to 5 gigabytes. That's more than enough, and it will just take $1 or so. Because the thing we do is fairly small, we don't need that much of a space. We are not making an actual industrial environment, so we don't need that much of a data size, you know. Press apply, review, and create. Okay, that's all. And we wait for deployment. And by the way, our operation will be focused on local storages, but in industrial environments, it's often not desired. You cannot put an entire computer into a PLC panel. That's why Azure services are quite important for us. And in the next steps, we will create a digital twin in Azure services, will act like an actual computer. So everything will be run in Azure services, and we wouldn't need any additional equipment to connect to PLC. Okay, then deployment is complete, and we got our SQL database right now. Before we move on, we should configure an access between this SQL server and our personal computer. Press Configure Access, select Selected Networks, and add your IP address. This IP address is your personal computer. How could we be sure about this? You just go to a website called What is my IP address, and you will see your IPv4 address, and the address right here is exactly same. You will press, you will add this IP address into SQL Server Networking and select Allow Azure Services and Resources to access this server and press Save. Successfully updated, and that's all. You connected your SQL database with your IP. Now you have access rights to this SQL database. There's 3 different ways to connect an SQL database: via Azure Data Studio, via Visual Studio, or Visual Studio Code. In our case, we will use VS Code. Just write down VS Code, press this, and download the program, and let's prepare our third environment, which is VS Code. Okay, once you downloaded VS Code, you will encounter this screen. Before we move on, we create a new file or open folder. Let's just open folder first and create new folder, test for PLC to Power B. Okay, this will be our folder. Right now, once you completed this step, you will see this segment on right side of the panel. You have to go Extensions and write down Azure. You will see blue check mark right next to Microsoft.com, and these things are the main things we're going to use. And download them all by pressing install. GitHub, Azure MCP, Azure Container. I mean, Azure is a really great thing to use, so I suggest you to download everything. Maybe you learn another things about Azure later. Because Cosmos database are really great. SQL servers are really great. Machine learning, Azure machine learning is really useful too. And also you need this account, Azure account option. Now, let's just move on to Python. That's what we're going to use as writing code. You will download Python debugger, Python itself, and Pylons if you really want it, on also environments. After you finish Python, you have to go and download SQL Server. Yeah, there you go. You have to download SQL Server too. Is there a database option? Can download this too. And that's all. Right now, turn back to your files, create new file, and name it Python code power by .py. There you go. You created your first Python code file. You have to press run Python file and select here, add a new terminal, PowerShell terminal, and we have to download two different libraries for this operation. One of them is pip install OPC UA. Since I already downloaded everything about OPC UA, it will say requirement already satisfied. But in your computer, it will download everything one by one. Also, you have to install ODBC. Oh, sorry, not ODBC. Pip install PyODBC. Sorry. Yeah. And also requirement already satisfied. What is PyODBC? ODBC is a type of connection method between an SQL server and your script code. It's a newer version, standardized version of SQL server and script bridge, basically. So that's what you're going to use when you're connecting with SQL database. And this is what's going to use when you're connecting PLC OPC UA server. So right now, you will use one library to connect TIA portal and other library to connect SQL server. Then connect these two with this Python script. That's why we downloaded this two library. That's all. So we have prepared our 4 different environment. Everything is ready. And now let's just move on to writing codes and creating the framework of this project. All right. We created everything and we are ready to connect SQL Server with Python script. If you remembered every single extension that I said before, you have to see this option down there as SQL Server. Once you click on this, this part must be empty for you. That's my old SQL Server that I created. And you have to press this Add Connection button, and a screen named Connection dialog must open. You have to select parameters give a server name, select an authentication type, username, password, etc. If you remember correctly, that I said to you, you have to choose SQL login and Microsoft Entra ID authentication types together. Because SQL login is more smooth, creates more seamless connection between Python script and other cloud service. Now, we selected SQL login and we need username, password, server name, and database name. Let's just turn back to our other cloud services. Select SQL server, not database. Select, SQL database, not SQL server. And press C connection strings. And if you remember correctly too, that I said to you, download PyOtBC library into Python. We are going to use this later. Do not forget about it. Now, under this part, you will see same thing under different authentication methods, but we need SQL authentication. Now, what is server? TCP provisioning 1433. That's our server. That's our database name. User ID is username, and the password is the password you put while configuring this SQL database. So, turn back to overview and copy the server name. We put server name and we put random name to our connection. PLC SQL SQL powered by. It doesn't matter. And select authentication type as SQL login. What was the username? Let's go into connection string again. Username was PLC to cloud. Copied this, pasted it. And your password, meanwhile your password you set while building this SQL server. Press save password. And what is database name? Database name is PLC SQL Power BI. Okay, press connect. As you can see, it's connecting. And it opened our SQL server. Now, under this SQL server, everything should be empty because we newly opened this. No items, no items, no items, etc. For this operation, we're going to use tables option. And we need to create a new table from scratch. But once you open tables, you will see a new table segment right there, but it's not working for me and I'm unable to solve it for right now. That's why I press right click and create the table from query itself. And what we have to write for this is basically creating table, giving a name to table. I put Power BI, but you can put my table. However, you'll also put this into our folder. Okay, my table ID int identity primary key. What is ID? ID means, let's just open an Excel document. One, two, and something. 3, 4. That part will be ID part, which is that's why it's integer, and adds 1 every time it gets a new value. Just goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We make this just to be sure there's no null value in identity part. And tag name and tag value is n-var char. Why did we use char? Why didn't we use integer? For example, 1 for true or 0 for false, because I want to see true and false. There's no specific reason. And I put n-var char in cases that the system uses Turkish characters such as ü, i, or sh, different sound that's only resides in Turkish alphabet, and also inserted time. I will put this code as an txt file under the video, don't worry. Now, once we created this, we run this query and it's completed successfully. What will this query do is create table on this segment. If you refresh this, you should be able to see it. There you go, my table. We created our table. Let's see the columns: ID, tag name, tag value, and insert time. This is time value. When will the value inserted into this SQL table? Specific ID, tag name of this string. In our case, it's true for start button. And that's all. So, let's just turn back to our SQL code. Where should I start? What should we write down? And I will explain every single part of code to you one by one. We will start with, of course, importing our libraries. Time, Pilot BC that we just downloaded, and OPC UA client. We will use client section. Why? Because we set this PLC as OPC UA server, if you remember correctly. And again, we need that. It's kind of slow a little bit. We need that address in order to connect this OPC UA server. Now, we set our Python script as client. Let's just connect into our OPC UA. What is OPC UA? The IP address that we connect in here. Client, OPC UA, client connect, and it will say OPC UA connected successfully. Now, we need nodes. What is node? Node is specific thing goes on in OPC UA server. The things we want to see. In our case, it is start button. Node, client, get node, namespace 3. Why is it 3? Why it's not 2, 1? Because NS0 is specifically reserved for OPC UA Foundation standards. NS1 is reserved for Siemens PLC standards, and NS2 is specifically reserved for the things resides in PLC system. For example, cycle, or what is it? Memory byte, clock memory byte, etc. That's why this NS2 part is reserved for this specific nodes. And NS3 is production node. That's the thing we write down, user-defined values. How could we see this also? Like, that's also why we use this app Unified Automation Expert, because in this program you can also see the nodes, display names, if it's false or not, the value. You can check OPC server itself. And down below there it should write ns3 string start button, ns equal 3 string start button. Okay, now we need a connection string, right? What is our connection string? There is a different text that goes on here. For example, driver equals what we downloaded before, ODBC driver 18 for SQL server, right? That's what we downloaded. And let's just go into server. Server equal connection strings, ODBC segment, that's what we downloaded, driver, ODBC server, TCP provisioning for PLC 01, copy the entire thing. Okay. Database. Move on. UID. And the password that you choose. In my case, it's this. Encrypt. No, connection timeout, 30. Now, the part that we use to connect into Azure SQL Server. Connection, PyOTBC, connect by using connection string. This part. And the part that we write down OPC UA server values into SQL Server. While true, we created a loop. Try value not get value, start button value. Insert this value into our table. In our case, it was my table, right? My table. String value SQL send it value times lib5 print break cursor close, connection close, and client disconnect. All right. We save this Python code. Let's run it. OPC connection successful. Cryptography is not installed because we didn't put any kind of password into our server. PyOTBC. There's a mistake in connection server. Let me check real quick. Okay. I found a problem. I forgot to put this under here, so it caused the problem. Let's save again and start again. OPC connection successful. SQL send it. Start button false. False. It sends the value every 5 seconds. There you go. You connected information into an SQL database from Siemens PLC. Let's just test this by changing this instance. Put them right next to each other and start this and modify state to true. SQL send it true. It's responding, it's working, and it's safe. Smooth. Let's just try again. False. Should turn false. False. That's how you create connection between Azure Cloud Services and your PLC. Now, let me think, is there anything else to say? I don't think so. That's all. Oh, yes, Power BI. Unfortunately, my internship ended with my company, so I do not have access to internet version of my Power BI. That's why I downloaded Power BI desktop. And let me show you how you could connect into an SQL server via Power BI. So press SQL server. Okay. Press direct query. What's the difference between import or direct query is direct query connects into SQL server and refreshes the information every single time you connect. Press direct query. What is server? What is database? Server is this. Database is this. Copy that. Okay. Now it should ask select use alternative ID things. And what was our username? Where is it? Yes, PLC to cloud was our username, and that was our password. Connect. Why? I guess I made a mistake while writing it. Okay. Oh, yes, sorry. Why did it done this? I don't know. Connect. Sorry. Yeah, you had to choose database option. You cannot connect via Windows. My bad. My bad. There you go. Connected into our SQL database via Power BI. Now, we choose My Table and press download or upload. I don't know. Okay. Let's see if our table is working in Power BI or not. Tag value, tag name, and time. Start button, false, 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 true. And it goes on. True, true, true. Okay, now turn SQL Server by writing true. Refresh. False, false, false. True. 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 Refresh. Goes true. True. Meanwhile, you don't have to refresh every single time in Power BI web mode. It will refresh itself every minute, every 15 minutes. It's up to you. But since I cannot access my corporate email because my internship ended 2 months ago, I have to use this desktop version, which has no direct cloud connection. Again, let's just turn this back into false and see if it's working or not. Refresh. It still goes on. It just takes a little while. Okay, I found why it did not refresh itself, because my internet connection was lost. So I get into SQL servers, refreshed everything again, and everything works properly. This was the last time we were unable to refresh, and it's refreshing and overwriting everything properly. By the way, you don't have to write this every single 5 seconds. You could just write the changes, created like an update sequence. Like instead of writing everything in every 5 seconds, you can make it update like that. And that's all. And unfortunately, due to earthquake happened in Hatay province, Turkey, I had problems to refresh these informations. But if your internet connection is good, there should be no problem for you. And that's all. Thanks for watching.